Welcome back to Talking Football, Two Ball Guys. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
Tony, it is Super Bowl week. We're only a couple days away from the big game.
Yes.
Kansas City, which I'm getting tired of, versus Philadelphia, whose fans are a little nuts.
They're like
should be an interesting game.
Philly fans are like the greatest, worst fans ever. Like they're super passionate, and you gotta respect that.
Right.
But they maybe go a little overboard with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they go to that crazy level sometimes.
We saw them, boo Santa one time. They throw things into the crowd a lot.
Their head coach gets an argument
onto the field a lot.
Right. Their head coach fights with them.
Yeah, their head coach maybe should stop talking so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing a good job at the program. He's good, but he needs to just focus on what's going on in the field because don't let the fans get in your head. In your head.
And he definitely lets them get into their head. All right, we got to the Super Bowl thanks to a very good championship game and a one that wasn't so much. So let's start with the NFC Championship game. I know it's been 2 weeks ago, but let's just recap it real quick. It was the Eagles and the Commanders. The Commanders looked a little over their head in that situation, as well as they played against the Lions the week before the divisional round. They played about as bad in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was Washington running into a really, really good Philly team, which I think was a little bit because Barkley took the first play, 60-some yards to the house, and I think that kind of set the tone for the Commanders.
Yep.
But Commanders kind of stayed in it for a minute.
They did early in the second quarter. I think they scored and went for two to maybe tie the game and didn't get it. But then Philly just kind of controlled it. I mean, Barkley scored, and it gave us one of the best stats out there that the Eagles scored more rushing touchdowns in that game than the Cowboys have all season.
That is crazy.
Which the Cowboys aren't playing anymore, obviously.
Right,
and they didn't make the playoffs either. But they only had 6 rushing touchdowns for their season, and Philly had 7 against the Commanders.
Yep. Yeah, Philly dominated line of scrimmage, took control of that game. That defense for Philly, it's number one for a reason.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts played pretty well, no turnovers.
Correct.
He ran the ball well, he threw the ball well. Barkley did Barkley things. Philly was just too much for Washington. Great run, Washington. I think he'll be back. I think Jaden Daniels is probably your guy. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
But I know what you're going to say.
Prove it.
Prove it again.
I've been a big prove it again. And I'm not saying Jaden Daniels can't, and he looks like he's going to, but so did Hurts.
Right.
But at the same time, I think Jaden Daniels looked like a better prospect coming out than Hurts did because Hurts played well at Alabama, but then lost his job and then went to Oklahoma where he played decent and got you as a fan of Oklahoma, some things you wanted. But I don't think it was one of those guys you're like, you know what? He is one of those generational talents. Whereas Jaden Daniels, that last year at LSU, was about as good as Joe Burrow was in the national championship season.
Yeah, and LSU, when he was at LSU, probably didn't have as much talent around him.
Correct.
As Joe Burrow.
Well, Joe Burrow was throwing
Justin
to
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. So
I think it was Jamar Chase, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Jamar Chase.
Whatever it was. It was ridiculous.
No, I agree with you, though. Jaden Daniels, great season. But next year, that sophomore slump that we talk about, Jalen Hurts had it a little bit. We've seen other quarterbacks do that as well. Do I think it's going to happen to him? I don't think so. I think you're right. I think he has more upside than maybe Jalen Hurts does. But all Jalen Hurts does right now is take Philly to Super Bowls.
He does. But do you think they're there because of him? Or because that they now have a guy named Saquon Barkley in the backfield?
Right. It's funny what maybe one guy can do from last season's loss in the first round to the Bucs that Philly had and a rough end of their season to all of a sudden making the Super Bowl with that one guy. Yeah, it changes things. I mean, look at the 49ers. When McCaffrey's healthy and Debo's healthy, that's a whole different team because Brock Purdy is not a quarterback to win you a bunch of games and carry you like Patrick Mahomes can.
I think if it comes down to it in this game, and we'll get a little bit more in breaking down, they need Hurts not to have to win the game for them.
Yeah, because
they need to control that game. Barkley do it. They need to be able to be in the game where Barkley can continue to run and not get down big, which I think they will because I don't think the Chiefs are going to get in that situation to be up big. But I don't think Hurts will win you the game.
Correct.
But I think he'll do a good job of not losing you the game.
Hurts can lose you the game.
He can.
Now, on the other side of the football, and like you said, we'll break it down a little bit more, but the Chiefs got a guy that can win you a game.
Right.
And probably won't lose you the game.
Right.
So there's the difference.
There's a difference.
Talk about that in a minute.
But Saquon is a big thing. So anyways, They handled the Commanders. I thought the game was going to be closer. I thought it was going to be a little more low scoring. The Eagles went out and scored 55 points, which is crazy because they had two really close games in the regular season. But the Eagles, hey, tip your caps. They did what they needed to do. They're on to the Super Bowl again to face the Chiefs, who they played 2 years ago. The Chiefs got through the Bills, and we thought the Bills were going to do it. We thought the Bills
was going to be their year.
Was going to be their year, and there were some things that happened in the game that we talked about. Was like one. Should the Bills have gone for 2 early in the game?
Chasing points.
Yep.
That early in the game.
Yep.
You always look back and go, well, if they didn't do that, they just went for 1, and then KC doesn't have to do what they did, and now you're looking at a 31-31 game. You can always look back and say that. I don't know if analytics was a factor. Did the analytics say go for 2 at that point? But you can always Monday morning quarterback that kind of stuff. I'm going to say no. Get your extra point, kick your PAT, and there's a lot of game left. There's a 3rd and 4th quarter left. You don't have to make up those points right now.
Yeah, you don't. And it's just and you do the adding on it, it comes out to where it would have been 31-31 because the Chiefs would not have gone for 2.
They would have no reason to.
And they had no reason to, and you would have been in good shape. And who knows, the game changes a little bit, but the Chiefs doesn't go for 2. They go for the 1 later. It's 31-31 maybe instead of the Bills chasing it. Now, that 4th down play.
Yes.
He gave him a shot. Yeah. Josh Allen gave him a shot. He threw it up, and it went to Kincaid.
And he got his hands on it.
He's got his hands on it, but it's difficult.
It was a tough catch.
You have to turn. People are like, you should have caught it, but when
you're
running
down,
one way and you're falling the other way, it was a tough play to make.
That's not the play that killed him, I don't think. I know that was the last play.
But did the refs cause it? The big thing is the refs are on the Chiefs side. I know all of a sudden the refs are on the Chiefs side.
There's always a conspiracy.
We talked about this. Yeah. They had that play where it looked like Allen was there, but they called it short.
I've seen so many different angles of that. One angle says yes, one angle says no. The call on the field was a no. And what do we have to overturn it? You have to have indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field. And I don't think they had it. I wish they did, because I think that obviously that's a huge, huge momentum for not only the Chiefs who got the ball, but if the Bills could have got the 1st down, who knows the difference in that game. I know there's conspiracy about the referees, and we can talk about that in a second, but they didn't have enough to overturn the call on the field, I don't think.
Right. I think if they called a 1st down, they can't reverse it.
They wouldn't reverse it.
To do it.
That's the difference.
That's the difference. I think you're right. I think that's the difference. But people are going to be like, well, it's the refs, it's the refs. And there were some times where it looked like they spotted the ball a little short on multiple different things in favor of the Chiefs.
So you think the Chiefs are getting calls from the refs because it's a conspiracy? The NFL?
I don't think it's a conspiracy theory, but we had a good – you talked about it earlier. You had this good thought where they said sometimes if a team is constantly making those plays, the refs can subconsciously – think they're going to make those plays.
Yeah, it was somebody talked about like humans and how we respond, and the Chiefs have been so good for so many years here recently. They're the winners of the last 2 Super Bowls. They are doing the right things on the field, and the humans who are reffing the game take that into consideration whether they mean to or not. So they're going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I don't think there's somebody up in the booth telling the referees, hey, don't call this or call that for the Chiefs. I don't think that's happening at all. You'd have to have too many people keep quiet to not let that leak out. But subconsciously, maybe the refs are saying the Chiefs do the right thing, so they're going to let it get away with it, kind of like maybe Michael Jordan.
Okay?
Right.
Right.
I
mean, if you really think about it, they would have to pay the refs extra money because there's going to be some refs that can be like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right. There could be a lot of refs that say that.
And I would, they're supposed to be partial. So there's some that might be like, sure, I'll go along with it. But there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to be like, no. So like they would have to be paying the refs extra money. And then that would be the whole conspiracy thing. And I don't think that's happening. But I think you're right. When something happens, we give the benefit of the doubt. Like, Mahomes, he's one of the best players.
Right.
You might give him, and you're trying to protect the players. And now some of the calls on Mahomes is a little bit whatever.
And I get it. You're trying to protect the business side of things because nobody wants to watch the backups for Kansas City play against anybody. I get that.
You don't want Carson Wentz playing in the Super Bowl against his old team.
He did a pretty good job when he was with them.
Well, not in the Super Bowl because
that was Nick Foles. So nobody wants to watch backups. You got to protect it. They might be a little bit lenient on those rushing the passer, roughing the passer calls because some of those are kind of like, come on now.
It is a little bit. Listen, I think it does. But the thing is, we talked about this. If those calls were going the way of the Lions right now, does anybody say anything?
Probably not. Probably not. Even though they're a winning program,
Right.
the last 2 years they've had good years.
Right.
Or if the Raiders were getting a bunch of calls and maybe winning 6 games instead of 4 games, nobody cared. Because it's the Chiefs, it's magnified. So you're right. The Chiefs are getting every single call scrutinized and looked at. The refs are making the calls because they're the Chiefs. They're the best team that have been for the last 2 years. They don't make mistakes, right?
You and I talked about this too. I think if you want to go back to even the Patriots rivalry, if the Patriots don't win that game, we talked about this a bunch of times, you and I, against the Raiders, does anybody care about the Tuck rule?
No. Even if the Tuck rule gets called and the Raiders pull it off, nobody even talking about the
If
Tuck
the
rule.
Patriots aren't winning, whether they did or did not, is anybody talking about them deflating balls a little bit?
Nope.
If the Colts win that game, the game where the balls were deflated a little bit,
Nobody cares.
do the Colts care?
Nobody cares.
They don't care.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And I'm not saying you should cheat. I'm not saying they should have done any of that stuff if it's true.
Right.
But nobody cares. So, everything is magnified when you win. If this was happening against the Panthers versus the Raiders, and the Raiders were getting all the calls one game, nobody cares. Nobody cares. They don't care.
And it's sad to say, but you're right. The 2 teams that barely can win.
I mean, it got to the end of it would be the same with the Bears. If the Bears and Raiders were playing and the Bears got all the calls at the end of the year, nobody would have cared.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No, because it doesn't matter, but because it's the Chiefs. And people are starting to dislike the Chiefs because they keep winning, just like we did with the Patriots and Tom Brady. I mean, it's just what happens. It's what happens. Unless you are a fan of that team, you're tired of it.
So we are going to make our NFL Super Bowl pick. I guess it is the NFL because it's a Super Bowl. We're going to make our Super Bowl pick here towards the end of the thing. Before we get to there, let's talk about some other stuff. We're going to get into some commercials. Maybe we'll talk about some commercials we like and some of the crazy prop bets. But before we get there, I want to ask you, as a Raiders fan, how do you feel about Pete Carroll being hired and Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, the Chip Kelly one's kind of surprised me because I think we had North Turner and his son Scott Turner kind of. But Pete Carroll was the safe, safe hire because he has done it. But he's not a long-term hire because he's 73 years old.
Right.
I think it was the safe hire. I think they got scared. Maybe they didn't want to take a chance on Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn or any of these coordinators, which...
Wait. Take a chance on them or they didn't get them?
Well, that's, either way. I don't know. Maybe both.
Because Ben Johnson made it seem like he wanted to go to the Bears and not the Raiders.
And maybe both. Maybe
Aaron Glenn said he wanted to be with the Jets because that's where he was from.
Well, maybe that's a good point. Maybe the Raiders did look at these guys and they just weren't interested in going to Las Vegas. I mean, that's very possible as well. But Pete Carroll, I think it's a safe bet. He might get, a couple years down the road. Maybe he's going to groom Chip Kelly into being a head coach. I don't know.
I think if I were a Raiders fan, is it that sexy hire that you're like, yes, no. But you could have done a lot worse. A lot worse.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, the coaching pool is pretty thin out there right now.
And I would think, too, that Chip Kelly might not be a great head coach, but he can coach offense.
He's an offensive coordinator. He took Will Howard to a national champion.
That is a true statement.
That's crazy.
The problem with the Raiders is they don't have a quarterback for him to work with right now. So where do you turn? You have to get one in the draft, right? Or do you maybe look at a Jameis Winston or
Sam Darnold
or somebody like that and hope that Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly combined can make them into something?
Pete Carroll did a pretty good job with Russell Wilson.
He did.
Super Bowl champion. I think Russell Wilson's better than those guys we just mentioned.
Correct.
But yeah, I don't know. I think we're still missing that quarterback piece. And I don't know if there's one in the draft that I really like a whole lot right now. I thought maybe Quinn Ewers might be that guy.
But then he didn't look great at the end of the year.
He didn't impress. Maybe Dylan Gabriel, but he seems to fit more of that college mold than an NFL star. Is Shedeur Sanders? Is he NFL ready? So many questions, and who are we taking a chance on? Or do we just go with a safe wide receiver, defensive lineman, or something like that?
I tell you what, you could do a lot worse than having Jameis Winston in there. He would make things exciting.
Correct. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 52 interceptions.
That's quite possibly, but it would be exciting.
We might go 500, maybe.
You would tune into those games.
For sure. Oh,
I mean, it's got to be better than Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, those guys don't excite me.
And Desmond Ridder.
Those guys are not exciting at all.
I mean, you put Jameis Winston with Pete Carroll, who knows?
In Vegas.
Vegas. Winston in Vegas might be the perfect spot for him.
Disasters.
So they just had we're into the week of the Super Bowl. They had the media day. And I don't know if he was involved in media day or not, but Jameis went to Saquon and goes, "Hey Saquon, know of any teams looking for a quarterback?" And Saquon goes, "Heard the Giants need one."
Whoa.
Little
That's
shot,
all shot,
little shot.
from his old team.
And he goes, "Can you hook me up?" I don't know. But I think Jameis, you could do a lot worse than Jameis.
And
He's not your savior. He's not the guy that you is going to lead
he's not
you
a
for
franchise
years.
guy, no.
But could he be that stopgap until there is
We
a guy
get somebody.
you can get?
Yeah, I would probably take Jameis over like a Sam Darnold right now.
Yeah.
Because I think Sam Darnold had a great season with the Vikings, but he ended up being Sam Darnold at the end. And the Raiders do not have a Justin Jefferson to throw to, and I think that helps Sam out a lot.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the Raiders don't have that anymore.
That is a true statement.
I think that's a big deal. I think when you have a Justin Jefferson, that helps a lot, like so much. But Pete Carroll, I like Pete Carroll. He's done a good job at USC and Seattle. He's solid. We'll see what he can do out there if Mark Davis lets him kind of have his way.
Yeah, so the Raiders picked up that. My Bears, they picked up Ben Johnson, as not famously, because we're not famous yet, as we were talking about it on our podcast. As I was complaining about it, they got it, and then they went and got the Saints ex-coach as their defensive coordinator, and they got an offensive coordinator from the Saints. And then just recently, they picked up Eric Bieniemy as their running backs coach. How did that happen? Listen, I like Eric Bieniemy. I think he's a good coach, but how did he fall from grace so fast?
He was offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
The best offense in the league.
Nobody really picked him up as a head coach.
He was supposed to be the next hot thing.
Right. Nobody picked him up, and people were throwing up their arms like, what is going on? Something's wrong. Then he went to college, Jacksonville State or something.
I don't know. He ended up at UCLA and got fired from UCLA.
Yeah, he was all over the place, but now he's a running backs coach again. Something was up. So I look back at all those times that he interviewed for head coaching jobs, and maybe those owners saw something that he wasn't ready for. That's the only thing that can make sense.
Yeah. I like it. I like the staff that the Bears put together. Now we just need to get offensive line.
Yeah, get an offensive line to protect guys, because I think Caleb Williams can win you some games.
I think so.
And I think you guys have the pieces on offense, and your defense is always pretty good. So the Bears, I'm going to give them this next year, maybe 2 years, and watch out.
Do you think, and then let's talk about another, do you think the Cowboys made a mistake hiring Marty Schottenheimer's son? But I forget what his first name is.
I don't know. It's tough because it's Jerry's show down there.
Correct.
So I don't care who he hires. Jerry's calling the shots.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's been part of the problem since Jimmy Johnson was there in the 90s, because I think that was the problem, is Jimmy Johnson wanted to run the show. It's his team. Jerry said, nope, it's my team. And there's problems there.
And that's absolutely ridiculous to me, because that's just a power struggle there that didn't need to happen. They were ridiculous. And if Jimmy Johnson stays there, I think they continue to be ridiculous.
Who knows?
And that's the only reason Barry Switzer has an NFL championship, is because Jimmy Johnson was let go, or he left, and
Barry walked into a
talk about
dynasty there.
It's like, you remember when Jim Harbaugh said that Brian Day, was born on third base until he hit a triple?
Right.
That's like Switzer hit a home run. Well, he landed on home plate and he thought he hit a home run. No,
exactly.
That was handed to him.
He didn't do anything with those
teams. I really thought the Cowboys were going to pull the trigger on Deion and find a way to get Shedeur Sanders there and kind of get a package deal. But I think Deion would have gone there.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, did Jerry not want Deion? Or was Deion just kind of like true to what he said, he's staying in Boulder?
But then why take a phone call?
2 phone calls,
right?
Like multiple phone calls, right? So something didn't happen. Maybe Jerry said, no, we're not going to get Shedeur in the draft. And Deion's like, okay, well, then I'm not interested in going there. Because I think Deion's made it clear he would coach his son.
Yeah.
As long as he could.
He wants to control that. And I think he's going to try to control that anyways. It's going to be really interesting come draft time. Will Shedeur pull like Eli Manning or John Elway, where they're like, we are not playing at this place? Because Eli, remember, got drafted by the Chargers and said I'm not playing for the Chargers, and they traded the Giants. And way back when, John Elway said, I am not playing for the Colts.
No, he was going to play with the Yankees, I think, baseball.
Right, instead of that. And the Colts either drafted him and traded, I can't remember, or they did draft him because of that, and they ended up with the Broncos. I think that could happen. I think that could happen there.
Well, Deion's going to be making all the phone calls and doing all the talking.
Right.
It's going to be Deion's way.
It's going to be Deion's way, and I think he's going to try and pull it for Travis Hunter also.
Yeah, I think he really likes Travis Hunter as well.
Yeah.
So who knows?
All right, so enough of the coach talk. Let's get into something that's really fun, commercials. Let's talk about commercials for a little bit. I know it's been a little bit. Commercials seem to have been down the last couple of years.
I feel the same way.
But there's always something that it's something to look forward to in the Super Bowl. And sometimes people say it's better than the actual Super Bowl. I think recently we've had some pretty good games, so it's been kind of maybe that's why the commercials haven't seen as bad. Is there a certain brand or anything commercial like that you just comes to you and you're like, you know what, I really like what they do with their commercials?
Recently, and even in years and years ago, Budweiser seems to come up with either funny or heartfelt or just they do a great job. Whoever's working their ads and marketing over there at Budweiser, they are doing a great job. I mean, there's obviously a ton of good commercials out there every year. Somebody comes up with some good stuff, but Budweiser seems to be consistently either make you laugh or cry or just like enjoy their commercials for whatever reason.
I always liked them coming out with their the Clydesdales coming out and stuff like that. So that's exactly what I was going to say is the Budweiser.
They had the frogs years ago that would say Budweiser separately. That was pretty funny.
They how much pressure do you think you feel as a guy that's making those commercials because you're paying so much money for that 30-second space?
So I've just looked it up. It's funny you bring that up. 30-second spot in the Super Bowl cost around $7 million.
Is that it?
That's it.
You want to put one in for our podcast?
Maybe we can talk them down to that. We'll have to talk them down a little bit. What do I get for 0.5 seconds?
Two Bald Guy Sports Podcast.
Done. That's it. That's all we get. Say it faster, though, because that was about $1.5 million.
Right? I know.
Yeah, for $7 million, there's a lot on the line. But $7 million to those companies is not crazy money.
It's not.
But for the viewership that you get for it, it has to pay off. Otherwise, these companies wouldn't do it. It has to.
It has to pay off. But I wonder, obviously people smarter than me that can judge how the ads just on the Super Bowl bring them money back as opposed to ads before or after the Super Bowl. Like, is the $7 million worth it? It has to be, right? Or is it just keeping up with the Joneses?
Oh, the competition.
Right.
So if you're Coke and you're Pepsi and you know Coke's going to have an ad, if you're Pepsi and you don't put an ad out there, I think that looks bad.
So is some of that just fighting?
Just competition. Yeah. Like, okay, maybe Coke and Pepsi didn't make any more money of it, but people are talking more about one of the other's ads because, that Pepsi ad was better than Coke or whatever like that. So, yeah, absolutely. They might not make the money off of it, but it's in people's heads and they're talking about it.
It's a spectacle, that is for sure. The other thing that's going on that's a little outside the game is Peyton and Eli apparently are kicking the field goal this year.
What?
Yeah, instead of Gronkowski, the kick of whatever.
Yep.
That always looks staged, but whatever. So it's Peyton and Eli. You know what? Whether you like Peyton and Eli when they played or whatever, they are definitely doing something right outside of the game because they keep just making money. Peyton I always thought was great in ads, and Eli showing a little because Eli had no personality. And
Peyton got all the personality.
And he had all the personality. But now they're, and they got this little sibling rivalry. It's kind of fun. They coach the Pro Bowl games, which if you watched it, cool. If you didn't miss much.
400 points scored.
Yeah, but you just have that stuff, and now I guess they're kicking a field goal.
Well, they do the Monday night games together.
They do, and that's pretty good.
And Bill Belichick's on there and good too. But Peyton was always good in commercials, and wasn't he on Saturday Night Live?
Oh my gosh! Did you ever see the skit where he had the little kids and he was just drilling them? He put a kid in the porta pot. Apparently, parents were lining up to have their kids be the one that got pelted by Peyton Manning.
Oh, really?
But he said it was like a little, it looked like a real football, but it was a Nerf football. And he said it was really hard to aim. But Peyton's hilarious.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. They're marketing themselves really good. They're still staying relevant in football. So I don't know if they got kids coming up or anything coming up later.
Well, Arch Manning, but I think that's their nephew. I don't know. They're doing whatever. We need to figure that out. I'll go kick a field goal. Try and kick a field goal for the Super Bowl.
Would two bald guys kick a field goal?
Yeah, two bald guys kick.
That has a ringtone to it. Right?
Two bald guys kick a field goal. Done.
I love it.
Sign us up. I'll do it next year.
Yep. I'll go practice.
I'll practice.
I'll even practice.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's
sign me up.
Somebody sponsor that.
Yeah, sponsor us.
I don't care who it is.
We'll just, you know what? We'll just do it in the parking lot of the Super Bowl. Right. I don't care.
We'll set up a couple cars.
I'll do it for a case of beer.
Right. Exactly. Case, I'll do it for a beer.
Speaking of that, if you like our podcast, you can click on the link in our thing and buy us a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Help support us, buy us a beer. We'll toast it up for you guys.
Absolutely. Click on the link there for us. Thank you.
All right. So with the Super Bowl comes betting. comes a
little bit, yeah.
lot of betting. I mean, there's a lot of betting anyways on NFL games, but come the Super Bowl, there's a ton of bets, and there's crazy bets like how long the national anthem is, all stuff like this. I heard one year somebody bet that there was going to be a streaker and put a ton of money on it, and then he was the streaker. That's because he knew he was going to make more money on the bet than it would to bail him out of jail.
That's almost genius.
It's pretty good, and I think they've taken that off of it now because of what happened.
Otherwise, how many?
But you know what?
Right.
If it's just a slap on the wrist and it's a fine, and you're going to make more money off of it, why not? Why not?
Correct. Go to jail.
And you know you're not going to get fired from your job. I would go to my boss and be like, "Hey, I'm going to do this."
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Care?
Here's what I'm going to make off of this.
I will throw you some money.
Right.
Will you fire me? And if he says no, then I would do it.
Yeah, but you're right. They have to take stuff like that off. I mean, otherwise, how many people are going to?
I mean, it's smart. Yeah. It is really, really smart.
Exactly. That was really smart. But the Gatorade is always a fun one.
So there's always the type of Gatorade that will go on. So let's see what we have here. I know we were looking it up earlier before we got on. We were talking about these crazy. Here it is. Which color? And this is, I don't know, this is just on Gridiron. We'll give them a shout out, gridironexperts.com. So I don't know where they're getting these numbers from, but
is it just history?
I don't know, but what color will the Gatorade be that is dumped on the head coach of the winning team? Probably not the losing team. I don't think you're going to dump Gatorade on losing. I would be pissed.
That'd be messed up.
If I was the losing coach and got dumped.
Yeah, that'd be upset.
Gatorade. Anyways, the top one is purple at 210.
So purple's, the last two have been purple.
The last two have been purple.
So we're going for a three. The Chiefs are going through a three-peat. Is purple Gatorade going through for a three-peat?
If the Chiefs win, somebody's thinking about that, right? Somebody's thinking about that. So purple Gatorade is going to be ready for the Chiefs. That's probably why purple is number one. It has to be. Listen, I'm a very superstitious guy. So if I knew and somebody brought that up to me that purple had been dumped on me twice,
There's been purple Gatorade.
This Gatorade bottle, and it's a podcast. So this isn't. I'm pointing at whatever Gatorade with the
pointing at imaginary Gatorade
bottle. I'm just picturing me being at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'm never going to be there, but like on the sideline as a coach, and the Gatorade better be purple, and nobody touches it.
Correct.
And he gets dumped on me after we win. Anyways, so purple is 210. That's obviously what it's got to be. The next one, it says yellow/green/lime. Now, before we get into this, what color is that? What color is that you say that is? And I'm talking about the lemon lime one. I'm not talking about green apple. I'm talking about lemon lime. What color is that?
It's yellow.
I agree.
It looks like pee. But you're telling me some people are saying
it's green. A lot of people say it's green. A lot of people say it's green.
Yes, because I'm looking at the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Guess what was dumped? Yellow/green.
That's not. It's not yellow. It's yellow. It's yellow. I like green. Green's my favorite color. I have never looked at that Gatorade and said it is green.
It's the best color. It's the best flavor to me.
I don't drink Gatorade, but still I can see.
You have eyes. You can see.
Eyes I can see.
Go to Google and Google the lemon lime Gatorade, and you tell me that's green, and we're gonna have a conversation because that's a problem.
But if I have worked in concession stands and stuff like that, and stuff, and kids, baseball players will call it green.
There is a green. We don't need to confuse yellow with green.
My son will say green.
He says green.
He says green.
That is yellow.
It's yellow. I have to go get his eyes checked. It's yellow.
It looks like pee.
Yeah, and if your pee is green, something's wrong. Go get checked. Go to the ER. Stop listening to our podcast and go to the ER.
If your pee is that yellow, you might need some water, but
right now.
But I find it interesting that those are on the list because the Eagles had yellow, not green, yellow in 2018, and Chiefs had purple last 2 years.
All right. The next one that has the greatest odds is orange. So yellow, I'm going to say yellow. I'm not saying green. Yellow lime is at plus 450. Orange is at plus 500.
Guess then the Chiefs won in 2020. Guess what color?
Orange.
It was orange.
I would agree, but since they've done purple the last 2 years.
Stick with purple.
And you said when the Eagles won, it was what? It was yellow? Okay. Then I don't I'm superstitious of this. I think that's where it ends. I think purple, yellow is where it ends.
You don't think a blue makes an appearance?
Blue's at plus 600. Red/pink. What's that?
That's
why
the underdog right now.
Those are two different ones. Red and pink are two different ones.
That's not even close. I mean, okay, it's
close. Pink's a shade of red. I don't know what you learned in our class. That is close.
It is close. I think you put something and something together to get red or something, pink or whatever.
Yeah, it's called red and white.
You get pink?
Yeah,
All right.
like the color of your glasses you have on.
Red and white, Oklahoma. I can't
Oklahoma.
find my other glasses.
All right, and
I
then
got Blues been up there. Blues been hot a little bit, like 3 out of the last
but
six
it's
or
the
7.
Rams. I'm looking at this upside down. Rams back.
Bucks, and
Patriots.
Patriots were all blue. Is blue is it time for a red or a pink?
I'm saying do not dump red on me because I feel like red stains.
I do too. Because you get it if you drink that. I know you said you don't drink Gatorade, but your tongue, your lips, and stuff like that will be red-ish after you drink red Gatorade.
Yes,
it's got red 40 in it. I think that stuff stains.
Sure.
You don't drink Gatorade at all.
I don't drink juices.
No, I don't.
You know I'm a little weird.
Okay.
I'm a lot weird, but that's one of the things. And then clear is 1,000. My son likes clear too, like the Arctic
black or Arctic, yes, Arctic something. Yeah.
All right, so are we done arguing about? We're not arguing. We're actually agreeing.
Well, listen, there has been 4 times that Gatorade has not been dumped on a head coach.
Oh, 4 times?
4 times that Gatorade has not been used. So is this one of those times where Gatorade? So you're going no matter what.
I think it's going to be purple or yellow.
I feel like it's going to be
you just like to be contrarian sometimes, don't you? You just want to.
Okay, it depends on who wins.
If the Chiefs win, it's purple.
If the Eagles win,
I think it's yellow.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Okay,
I'll agree with that.
All right.
I don't think it's going to. I think it literally depends on who wins the game.
All right. Here's some other crazy prop bets that we have seen, and one is: will any player or coach cry during the national anthem? Last time the Eagles were there, Nick Sirianni, their head coach, was in tears, and I'm not making fun of it at all because it is a kind of
it can be a
touching time.
No,
will somebody cry?
Guaranteed, yes. So somebody's shedding a tear.
I think Nick Sirianni will try not to because basically you have this meme of him crying,
right?
But
I think you can find a player that tears up.
Somebody will.
The cameramen always find.
Both of them are negative 115, according to this.
Right.
All right, will a player leave the game and not return due to concussion symptoms? We talked about this because we went through some of these before we got on air. I think that's a horrible thing to bet.
Yeah, I would feel bad if
you bet, because if you bet yes, you're hoping somebody gets hurt.
You're putting your money down because you believe something. I don't know if are you hoping or are you going to cheer when it does? Because I won money. Now Jalen Hurts is not too far off from a concussion.
I hope not, but yeah.
No,
so
that one. Maybe take that one out.
If the Chiefs win, will Andy Reid be doused in barbecue sauce?
I would say I think he would want to be. He looks like someone that would be enjoying that. But no, there's no barbecue sauce being dumped on him.
Another one is Drake, Super Bowl curse. Will he be representing a team?
I'm going to say no. He's not coming into any team.
Yeah, I don't think so either. How many players will have a passing attempt? So the over-under is 2.5, obviously. So you're going to have probably, hopefully, only as quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts.
Yep.
So then does somebody else throw a pass? Anybody else?
Saquon get a pass in there? Worthy, somebody? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Andy Reid's going to come up with some weird play maybe to get the offense going because they're struggling or something like that. Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Worthy or somebody throws a pass.
Does somebody like A.J. Brown come around on a reverse and then throw it?
Throw it back to Jalen Hurts.
But I could see like Worthy throwing a pass because they handle the ball to Worthy, the Chiefs, a lot.
They do a lot of end-around stuff because he's so fast.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Travis Kelce gets involved in pass.
All right, here we go. We talked about this, but I didn't tell you the number, or maybe I did, and see if you remember. Number of beers sold. Now, to remember, there's 76,000 people, 76,000, almost 500 people that can be in attendance at that's what the capacity is.
Well, we know not everyone's going to be of age to drink.
Correct.
But we also know that everyone who is drinking is not going to stop at 1. Some people might, but the majority of people are probably not going to stop at 1. So I think I'm going to go, let's just give me like 7, whatever the number of
76,000? That's not even close. They have the over-under at 120,000.
Okay.
I think actually over.
You're going to go over on
that.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, probably 50,000 people in there are going to be drinking. And all they have to do is have a little over 2.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And some people are going to drink like 8.
They're going to make up for the people that aren't drinking for sure.
Right.
So, yeah, all right. 150,000 probably closer to.
All right, how many times will Taylor Swift be shown live throughout the game?
Oh, my gosh. What's the over-under on that?
5.5.
Go over. Before the game, she's going to come.
Well, it says throughout the game.
Throughout the game.
So does it count? Does the game have to be being played for when it happens?
That might change my answer a little bit because they're definitely going to show her coming into the stadium. they're definitely going to show her before the game, probably during the national anthem, maybe. Every time Kelsey catches the ball or scores a touchdown for sure, and I think he's going to have a few catches and maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go over for sure.
Yeah, I think over
times.
5.5. I think 8.
Yeah.
The only way it doesn't is if they make a concerted effort not to.
Which
it's possible.
The only reason my wife watches a football game is the Chiefs, who I hate, and it's only when they're playing at home because Taylor Swift's there.
Would your wife buy a Chiefs jersey because of Taylor Swift?
If it said Swift on the back, possibly.
What about your daughter?
Doesn't care. No. I think she'd side with Dad, probably.
You think so?
If she had to pick, she'd side with Dad.
Okay.
She's not really a big Swiftie.
Good. Let's see if there's something else in here. How many times will the chains be used for measurement? Over-under is 1.5. So basically, if it happens more than once, that's over, obviously.
With the new tush push that seems to be very popular right now, I'm going to go over on that.
I don't think so. I don't think they pull them out at all.
At all.
At all.
You think it's pretty cut and dry, first downs?
Yeah, because all of them are going to go for the Chiefs. All right.
Here we go.
Will the kicker hit the upright or crossbar and miss field goal or extra point?
Oh, I would not take that. That's Harrison Butker's really good, and the Eagle. I'm going to say
Jake Elliott's pretty good too.
I don't think the kickers are too good. Kickers are both very good. No.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They're going to flat out miss or
it's not a Bears kicker.
Right.
All right, and then we have this one too. Who will the Super Bowl MVP think first? Here are the options. Teammates are atop at 3-2. Coach and family 12-1. God is 3-1. Owners 12-1. Does not think anyone. Listen, we talked about this. If Patrick Mahomes wins, it's going to be God.
Yeah.
I don't know if Saquon Barkley. Saquon might do the teammates because he seems like a pretty outstanding dude. I don't think anybody's going to thank the owner.
No.
Family's a possibility. I don't think Coach gets thanked first.
Jalen Hurts probably God, maybe.
Yeah, Jalen and Mahomes, I would say God.
Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift. He thinks Taylor right away.
No.
I want to thank Taylor Swift for her homemade Pop-Tarts. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't see that.
They asked Travis what his favorite meal that she makes. He said homemade Pop-Tarts. So I don't know if that means she puts Pop-Tarts in the microwave.
Hold on, wait. Is Taylor making those?
He said homemade Pop-Tarts.
That doesn't mean Taylor.
Did Taylor?
You think Taylor's cooking her own food?
They asked him what the favorite meal she makes him. She said,
she makes.
That she makes him homemade Pop-Tarts.
Listen,
is she rolling up the dough and making Pop-Tarts, or is she putting Pop-Tarts in the toaster?
If I'm not trying to be funny, but if that's the top thing that somebody makes, like I ask you, what's the top thing your wife makes? Is the first thing you think of is going to be a pastry?
No, lasagna is the answer to that question.
Okay,
she cooks nothing ever, but once a year. Once a year we have a lasagna, and she does a great job of it.
Good. My wife doesn't cook much either, and it's fine. I'm not trying to say she has to cook.
I actually like grilling and cooking.
Yeah, I don't mind cooking either. So there's not much my wife makes, but it wouldn't be a pastry.
It's not a pastry. Ever. It's not cookies. It's not anything.
But then again, goods. Taylor Swift is probably not cooking food.
I would say neither one of them need to.
And good for them for not having to.
No,
because if I had enough money to have a personal chef, yes. I'm damn right I have a personal chef.
And I would be a lot skinnier and probably better shape.
You'd be skinnier or you'd be fatter?
Well, I don't know. That's tough. You're right.
Because there'd be some good food being cooked. It could go either way. I understand what you're saying.
I would try to be like, make me something it's not going to make me fat. But then on the other hand, I'll be like, make me 25 chicken wings.
Correct.
Every single meal.
Yes. You want an appetizer? Yes, I do. I'll take 6 wings.
And then give me 10 for my course. Just
a different
change
sauce.
flavor. All right. Taylor's homemade Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts.
I'm sorry. What were we talking about there? Oh, the thanking God and all that stuff first. Travis Kelce thanks his family because his mom finally doesn't have to wear a split jersey or anything like that.
That is a true statement.
She will wear a Chiefs jersey.
All right. So last year, let's talk about this too. The over-under on the game last year was 47 points.
It's last year. Last
year's game. This was when the Chiefs played the 49ers.
Yep.
It was 47 points. And you, again, famously, said 25-22 final score. And I said, you're absolutely out of your mind because we've looked it up. 25 or 22, either one of those scores, not together, has only happened one time before last year in the Super Bowl. And you just go 25-22. I said, that's ridiculous. It never happens. You're like, I don't care. It's happening. And then it did happen.
That's just the first 2 numbers that came to my head that added to 47. That's all it was.
I don't know why 25-22 was the first 2 numbers added.
I don't know.
24-23, you know.
I just went with it. And then you texted me that night and we're like, oh my gosh, the score actually happened.
Yeah.
I don't think you can bet on that, but the final score, I don't think. But I wish I could have that time and put like $100 on it because the odds of 25-22 would have been
You would have
insane.
you would have made a ton of money.
Insane.
And so we said this time the over under is 49. Is it still 49?
Depends on who you look at.
Okay.
48.5, 49.
Okay, so let's just say 49. Okay, so without telling us who's going to win, give me your final score.
So if I'm going to continue with the theme of last year, let's get weird. And the Chiefs do not score 30 points a whole lot.
Right.
And the teams that they play do not score 30 points a whole lot. So I'm going to cap one of the teams at 30.
Okay.
So in order to get 49, the other team's got to be at 19, which is going to be kind of funky. But listen, a touchdown and a bunch of field goals will get you to 19. Right?
That's true. 4 field goals and a touchdown is 19. It's 30's not abnormal.
Not crazy,
it's not abnormal. No. So you're going 30-19.
30-19 is the weirdest 49 I come up with.
So I'm not going to add up to my to 49. I'm going to say 31-27 is my final score, and we'll talk about who is going to win.
I guess I could have done like 27-22. That'd been pretty weird too. 22 is just a win. 22 is not happening again.
Yeah,
it's not happening again.
We talked about this before we went on because I wanted to look it up too, and I think 30 has only happened like 1 or 2 times, and 19's only happened like once.
Right. And so
in the Super Bowl,
there's no way.
So you keep picking these just. If you get it,
I get it this year,
if you get it this year, then next year we're going to Vegas or something, and you're going to bet it. But then again, probably third time's not a charm, and you probably won't get it.
I already screwed myself up twice. So. Should have bet it last year at 25-22.
You should have bet it last year.
Come on now, that's ridiculous.
25
in a football score is ridiculous. Never happen again.
That is a little ridiculous. So
at least we have it recorded on audio.
We do.
So
nobody can argue. It was there. It was me saying you were absolutely out of your mind.
And I was like, you know what? You're right, but I'll stick with it.
All right. Last thing I want to talk to, and then we'll get into the picks and all that stuff, is we're coming up on the awards here. Let's just, if you, running back of the year, let's just start real easy. Running back of the year, who would you give it to?
I think that, Saquon's got to get it.
The only one that I think would even be close is Derrick
Henry. Had
but it has to be Saquon, right?
When you do a spin move and then a reverse jump over somebody, like you win right there. You win. He has done everything he's had to do to carry that Eagles team and make that Eagles team even better than they already are, and they're in the Super Bowl because of it. It's Saquon Barkley.
I would agree. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think I would agree. The only one that even remotely it would be if the Lions running back was 1. Then they put up similar numbers to Saquon. Correct. And I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So if you wanted the best duo, which isn't a thing, we're not the MTV Music Awards. So the duo would be the Lions.
For sure.
But Saquon's the best. I think Derrick Henry is close, but pretty far behind him. Like I think it'd be unanimous that Saquon would be the top.
I don't think anybody would argue with you.
Who would you say would have been the top receiver this year?
You're always going to throw out guys like Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown for the Eagles is solid. The other guy for the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was really good too. Is there anybody else out there that really stuck out in your mind?
Jamar Chase.
He
still put up stupid numbers.
Did. That's right, because Burrow did throw for a ton of yards and they just couldn't win a game, even though his stats are ridiculous. Anybody else really come to mind? Mike Evans had a decent year.
He had a good year. And Malik Neighbors, but he's not going to win it like he has a rookie and all that. I would say if there's an award for best receiver, I would give it to Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase right now? I'd have no problems with that either.
What about Coach of the Year? Who would you give the Coach of the Year to?
You could give it to Andy Reid every year the last
year.
To be honest with you. You could give it to the Eagles coach, Sirianni. Who else would even be in the running?
The Commanders coach. Dan
Quinn. Winner right there. Done.
I think it's Dan Quinn.
I think it is. It's him. For sure. Nobody expected them to be where they were.
No.
Not even close. Maybe make the playoffs was even a
obviously, Andy Reid, the Bills coach, Dan Campbell for the Lions, Sirianni. But I think if you really give it to Harbaugh, but I think it would have to be Dan Quinn.
100%. Yeah. I don't think there's an argument there. That's cut and dry.
All right. Rookie of the Year.
It has to be Jayden Daniels.
Has to be Jayden Daniels.
Bo Nix had a pretty good
year
too.
And Malik Neighbors, but
Jayden Daniels.
I don't think it's close. I think it'd be runaway. All right, MVP. Who would you give the MVP to?
You can go.
Lamar Jackson won the Player of the Year in the AP, whatever it was. But we're talking about the actual MVP given out for the NFL.
I think if you look at Lamar Jackson, and let's just forget about who won it the last couple of years. Let's throw that out the table. Let's pretend that this is the first year of it. Lamar Jackson had a great season, but he also had help with Derrick Henry, right? He also had some help. Mark Andrews pretty good as well. I think Josh Allen didn't have as much help and did more with less talent. I think. I mean, the Bills are a really good football team, but I think if you take Josh Allen off the team and Lamar Jackson off the team, the Bills fall further.
Yeah.
So I think it's Josh Allen.
I think the things were announced or voted on before the playoff game when the Bills beat the Rams. Right. I mean, not the Rams, the Ravens. I think that even though that, I think Josh Allen gets it. And I think he might get it too because we've talked about this little MVP fatigue because Lamar's won a couple of years. The reason why Jordan didn't win it all those years in the NBA. Right. But Josh Allen, I think, Lamar Jackson was greatly helped by Derrick Henry. Now, Lamar Jackson is still really good. Jackson's great. And he does what he needs to do. But I think Josh Allen gets the MVP.
Yeah, like I said, I think when you talk about...
I think he should. Yes. Lamar might win it, but I think Josh Allen should.
I think when you talk about MVP, you're talking about the most valuable person on that team. If you take that person off, which team falls further? And I think the Bills are a way worse team than the Ravens when Josh Allen is not out there. I think he carried them. He ran the football, obviously threw the football. He carried that team.
Yeah, I'm going with Josh Allen.
It's Josh Allen.
All right, so we went through the awards. We've talked about commercials. We've talked about crazy prop bets. Let's get to the final game. Chiefs going for a three-peat. I think they're the fourth team ever to make it to 3 straight Super Bowls. The Miami did it way at the beginning. Yep. The Bills obviously did it 4 in a row, and then we looked it up. The Patriots went to 3 in a row, but they didn't win 3 in a row.
They didn't win it.
The Chiefs are going for the 3rd straight. They'd be the first team ever to go to 3 or to win 3 straight. One of them, it started with the Eagles, and it could, I don't want to say end because they could win next year.
Correct.
But the three-peat's going to end with the Eagles. Do they get it done? Do the Chiefs win their 3rd in a row?
Oh, my gosh. Do I want them to? No.
I know you don't
absolutely want them to. Not. And I think I can speak for everybody outside of maybe the states of Kansas and Missouri that do not want the Chiefs to win again. But just beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs and the Super Bowl has been extremely difficult. The Eagles' defense gives me hope, but that Chiefs' defense is really good as well. Whoever can score my 30 points that I predicted is going to win this because the Chiefs do not give up 30, and they barely score 30 hardly at all this year. Their most points they ever scored was in the conference championship is 32 this year. Chiefs win 30-19. But if Chiefs pull away late, I think it's closer. I think it's like 23-19. Chiefs get a late touchdown to pull away. Chiefs win because that's what my brain says, but my heart wants the Eagles to win. Go Birds.
All right. So here's what I think is going to happen. I said 31-27, and I think this is how it's going to happen. Chiefs are going to be winning 27-24 coming towards the end of the game. The Eagles are going to go down looking like they're going to tie the game. Saquon breaks, 1 scores, but they give the Chiefs a little bit of time left. Mahomes goes down, but he can't kick a field goal. He's got to score a touchdown because it's 31-27 because the Eagles weren't chasing points earlier in the game, and they're up by 4.
Okay.
The Chiefs go all the way down. They get down to 10. The Eagles get its last-second stop, win the game, stop the three-peat. Eagles get their Super Bowl.
Oh.
Philadelphia burns down. Nick Sirianni yells at the fans. Saquon is the MVP, and Mahomes, 31-27 Eagles.
Yeah. I hope you're right. Basically, you're saying Saquon gets the go-ahead touchdown because we've kind of established Hurts probably is not going to win the game for you. And then that defense steps up and stops Patrick Mahomes. Gosh, I hope you're 100% right. But Chiefs win. Travis Kelce's the MVP. Proposes to Taylor Swift, and they retire and get out of NFL.
He says he wants to play for 3 more years.
No, Taylor says no. She wants a ring and a wedding, and he's out.
All right,
please.
Before we go, we've had some things. You've been around this world a lot longer than I have.
Oh, my gosh.
Because you're older than me.
Barely.
What's your favorite Super Bowl that you have ever seen?
Man, the Raiders won some, but I was just a little bit too young, even for me.
Sure?
I was a little bit too young in 80. Their last Super Bowl was 83. That puts me about 5 years old. So I really remember, and I don't know why I remember this Super Bowl, Bengals 49ers in like 1988. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Roger Craig they're going down the field. they're driving, and then out of nowhere, a guy by the name of John Taylor catches the ball in the middle of the end zone to put the Niners up, and they beat the Bengals. And for some reason, I don't know why I remember that game so much, but I do. It was exciting. I didn't want the Niners to win, but they did anyway, because it was like we get tired of the Niners too back then. That game, for some reason, sticks out. Joe Montana threw it to Jerry Rice and Roger Craig all the way down the field. Boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, John Taylor in the back of the end zone, touchdown.
Right, because the Bengals just couldn't get it done against the 49ers.
No.
My favorite, and there's been a lot of good ones, my favorite one that I watched, even though the team that I wanted to win didn't win, would be the Cardinals and Steelers.
Okay.
Because we've talked about this.
That was just a
Larry
good
Fitzgerald, like we've said it, I've talked to you many times. If you want your son and or daughter to look like they really enjoy what they're doing, they need to watch Larry Fitzgerald in that Super Bowl. That guy had so much fun, and he played his butt off, and he just did what he needed to do.
You just wish he could have got a
good Super Bowl. They actually took the lead. Kurt Warner on his second team.
That's right.
That stuff. But then Ben Roethlisberger, we don't talk about Ben Roethlisberger, but he made a great throw in the corner of the end zone at the end of the game. But it was also highlighted at the end of the half where James Taylor – was it
James Harrison.
James Taylor.
James Taylor's a musician.
Yep. James Harrison got the interception and just stumbled down, but then almost got caught by Larry Fitzgerald.
Correct.
But they got that touchdown. It was just such a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals were that big underdog because, they've never really done anything.
That game was it was so evenly matched. It looked like, and it was just a fun game because, I don't really hate either one of those teams. Right. So that helps too.
Right.
Because I didn't really care that much. I know you wanted the Cardinals to win or whatever, but I don't hate the Steelers either. I hate the Steelers a little bit more than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But not like this year where the Chiefs.
But you always look at it and you're like, you want that team that isn't normally there to win.
Right.
If it's not your team. Like if the Bears are playing, they wouldn't play the Cardinals because they're both the NFC. But if the Bears are playing the Cardinals, no, I don't want the Cardinals to win. I want the Bears to win.
Correct.
But if they're playing a Steelers or somebody else you don't care about, let them win.
Yeah.
Get them a win. And it was just a fun Super Bowl. I'm just hoping this one is entertaining. And if what happens that I just described, that would be an entertaining game. Plus the Eagles win and the Chiefs don't get their 3 games.
Yes.
I know
that would be ideal.
I don't really want the Eagles winning another Super Bowl, but I have friends that are Eagles fans, and I don't hate them. So let's let the Eagles win.
Yeah, I got several people that are Eagles fans that I know, and they seem to be the somewhat normal fans.
Right.
For Philly fans.
Correct.
There's a couple. There's some Philly fans that are a little wild.
Ooh, there's some.
But Philly is burning down. If
Philly
Eagles win,
Philly will burn down.
They better be prepared now.
They probably are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, I hope it's good. I hope there's some good commercials. The perks of my new job that I teach at is I don't have to go teach on Monday. We get Monday off. We've talked about
this. Let's move the game to Saturday. Super Bowl Saturday sounds just as good.
I think you and I would be great commissioners of something that has to do with sports. Not NBA because who cares?
Right.
Let's go football.
All right.
We've had some arguments about how they could fix the NCAA playoff for
Correct.
And I think they're easy fixes. But I think we're not the only ones that think this, but the NFL has the easiest fix you could have. Make the Super Bowl the day before President's Day because it's a national holiday. A lot of people have off. Correct. We definitely do because we're teachers.
Right.
Most people have President's Day. You can't move it back 1 week. Put an extra bye week in.
And
it's another Sunday of NFL football.
Right. Correct.
Because when you have bye, there's teams playing every week.
Right.
Fantasy football has another week.
Right. You're not hurting anything.
You're not hurting anything. And I think the players would be okay with it.
An extra bye week?
An extra bye week.
Yeah, they would.
They play 17 games right now, right?
Yep.
17 games. Have a bye, after 4 to 8 weeks, and then have another bye at 10 to 13 weeks.
Yeah,
something like that.
In the 10, 12 range. The players would not hate that at all.
I don't think so.
They'll take a bye week.
Well, here's what's going to happen. They're going to get to 18 games before they get an extra bye week. Because that's another game in a stadium.
Another game with money to coming in. It's all. But
you're telling me the extra Sunday of NFL football doesn't make them money?
Correct. It has to.
It has to because it's still other commercials.
It's still an extra Sunday.
Right.
Yeah. Move the Super Bowl to President's Day weekend.
Right. Or I don't know, play on a Saturday night.
Move it on a Saturday night. That too.
You're telling me that people that travel there too, it'd be easier.
Easier travel. Right. Exactly. Instead of fooling
around. It's not losing any money for any of the cities.
No.
Because they're getting the exact same amount of money.
It won't matter. People stay
1 day earlier. What are you doing that you need that extra day? You already had 2 weeks off.
People are already in New Orleans right now, probably.
Right now.
And it's a Wednesday.
They might not know what they're doing right now.
It's a Wednesday night, but They're in New Orleans right now.
They're in New
Waiting.
Orleans.
Yeah.
Drinking.
Bourbon Street.
Have you ever been to New Orleans?
Yes.
Is it fun?
It's interesting.
I heard it's interesting.
The trash is on the.
I heard it could be a little dirty.
The trash is a little dirty, especially during the day, but it's interesting. There's there's people playing music all over the place. We went during summertime one time for a volleyball tournament. It's something I don't need to do ever again, but it's something that I'm glad I have done.
I've thought about doing it, but I heard it's definitely don't take your kids down there.
Yeah, we had a volleyball tournament, so we had a bunch of teenage girls down on Bourbon Street. So it's like 8:00 bedtime. Let's go.
Anyways, but it's a good place. It's a good place for sporting events. And sometime maybe I'll go there. Maybe maybe next time it's in New Orleans, the Bears and Raiders can play.
That'd be nice.
We still probably couldn't afford to get in, but somebody can sponsor us and we can do our field goal kick for the two ball guys kicking field goals.
Two ball guys kick a field goal
at the Super Bowl.
.com. Hashtag
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. Two ball guys kick a field goal.
All right, Super Bowl's coming up in a few days. We're looking forward to watching it. We will come back next week and talk about hopefully, an Eagles win, break down, put a bow on it. And then, as we get into the offseason, we're going to start talking about, some of our favorite players, make some lists.
Super Bowls.
And we'll have a podcast just on video games. We can do that too.
We can talk about anything.
We can talk about anything. It's the post or the offseason, getting to the draft.
The draft will come up. Well, there's always stuff going on.
Always stuff coming up. But we will come back next week and put a bow on the NFL season and kick off the off season and get back into maybe some college football stuff and things that happen around then. But until then, I guess go Eagles, beat the Chiefs. We'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.
That was Talking Football with Two Ball Guys with Adam and Tony. If you like what we have to say, come back next week for more of our football takes.
If you want to support the show, maybe buy us a beer, click on the link below.